Congratulations on your Cultural Development Fund CDF award. We want you to receive your initial payment as quickly as possible, so we put this tutorial together to help you fill out your documents correctly. We will go over what is required, where to find the forms you need, how to fill them out, and highlight common errors. We will also go over additional requirements beyond document uploads and briefly discuss the review and initial payment process.
¿Tiene alguna pregunta en español? Puede pedir asistencia en español enviando un email al helpdesk al cdfhelpdesk@culture.nyc.gov. Claudia Arseno contestará su pregunta lo más rápido posible.
For questions or requests regarding accessibility or accommodations when viewing this video or submitting your funding materials package, please contact our Disability Service Facilitator at disabilityfacilitator@culture.nyc.gov. Getting started, finding the required materials for upload. Required forms and corresponding instructions can be found linked in your award letter as well as on the applying page of DCLA's website. To view your award letter, log into the DCLA portal, navigate to the Cultural Development Fund CDF award tile for the most recent fiscal year, click View Download, and select the award letter. You can find the link to the CDF funding requirements document on the first page of the letter under Action Items. On this slide, you can see the top of the first page of the CDF funding requirements document. Please make sure that in addition to watching this tutorial, you carefully read the instructions provided as they also contain important information on compliance with various requirements. All grantees, and especially new grantees, are encouraged to keep the CDF funding requirements document by their side throughout the grant materials submission process. All your required grant materials will be uploaded via the payment checklist in the DCLA portal. Navigate to the most recent Cultural Development Fund award tile on your dashboard and click on the Payment Checklist button. There, you will find fields to upload only the materials you are required to submit. If your award is under $100,000, all the forms you will need to upload, with the exception of your grant agreement, can be found linked in the CDF funding requirements document. If you are required to submit an addendum, you will need to do that in addition to submitting the payment checklist before DCLA can process your initial payment. We will review how to do so after we discuss the materials that you will upload via the payment checklist. A quick note, you will see on your award tile a Start Scope Change button. Please note that unless your programming has changed substantially from what you originally proposed, you do not need to fill out a scope change form. If you are considering submitting a scope change, please check with your program officer first to determine if it is necessary. So what documents are you required to submit and who is required to submit them? All grantees are required to submit a signed and dated grant agreement. All grantees with awards of over $5,000 must submit a completed Doing Business data form. If you are a new grantee that has not received DCLA administered funding in the past, you will also need to submit a substitute W-9 form. And if you receive member items from the City Council, you will need to submit a lobbying certification. Grantees with total awards of $100,000 or more must submit insurance documents and other required materials, which we will review at the end of this tutorial. Let's go over the grant agreement. First, to access your grant agreement, click the View Download dropdown on your most recent CDF award tile. Note that if you are required to submit a full addendum, you will need to submit the addendum and have it approved before you are able to view and download your grant agreement. After we review materials for upload, we will go over addenda. Once you have downloaded the grant agreement, what is required? All grant agreements must be uploaded in their entirety, including the appendix, with page 3 signed and dated. The signature on page 3 of your grant agreement should be a digital reproduction of a physical signature or a scan of a wet signature. Please do not type in your name in italics or a cursive font. If your signature is typed in, your grant agreement will be returned to you to sign appropriately, which will slow down the payment process. Documents with e-signatures submitted using DocuSign or another secured signature equivalent are acceptable. Please note, DCLA does not provide access to DocuSign or other software and will not reimburse fees incurred by organizations that opt to use this method. The last page of your grant agreement is a certification by insurance broker or agent. If your total award is under $100,000, you do not need to do anything with this page. You don't need to get it notarized, just leave it blank at the end of your grant agreement. These instructions are also included in the CDF funding requirements document. All grantees with awards of over $5,000 must submit a Doing Business Data form. You can find this form linked in the CDF funding requirements document. The only Doing Business Data form we are able to accept is the one that is linked there. Please don't submit a copy of the form that you submitted to another agency or that you found online. If you submit a version that is not DCLA's for your CDF grant, you will be required to resubmit the correct form and your payment process will be slowed. So let's talk about how to fill out this form. The top gray box will be pre-populated for you with the agency listed as 126 and the transaction ID CDF followed by the fiscal year. Under Entity Information, fill out your EIN and entity name. In the gray Filing Status box, you must select one of the three options and follow the corresponding instructions. Those instructions will either tell you which portions of the form you need to fill out or to skip to the bottom of the last page. If you have previously filled out a Doing Business Data form and select option 2 or 3, you must also provide the date of your previously submitted form. You should include in the blank the month, day, and year that your previous form was dated. If you don't remember the day, that's okay, just include the month and year. Regardless of which option you choose, you must fill out all fields in the gray certification box at the end of the form and date it with a current date. Here again, please use a digital reproduction of a physical signature and not a typed signature in italics or a cursive font. This slide is for new grantees only that have not received DCLA funding in the past. If this is your first grant administered by DCLA, you will need to submit a City of New York Substitute W-9 form. That form can be found linked in the CDF funding requirements document. Be aware the Substitute W-9 form is not an IRS W-9 form or a New York State Substitute W-9 form. This form is for New York City. You will see that it has a green NYC logo in the upper right-hand corner. Again, we can only accept the version of the form that is linked in the funding requirements document, so please do not search for the form online. This slide is only for grantees that received City Council member item support. If you did receive member item support, that will be itemized in your award letter. If you don't see reference to member item support in your award letter, then the lobbying certification is not something that you need to submit. The lobbying certification can be found linked in the funding requirements document. Please only submit this version of the form. Please make sure that the top portion of the form is completely filled out with your entity information. You must then select at least one of the bolded options. Then print your name, sign, and date at the bottom of the form. Here again, please follow the instructions for acceptable e-signatures that are laid out in the funding requirements document, and do not simply type in your name in italics or a cursive font. Finally, make sure that you read the member item section of the funding requirements document, as it also contains important information on tracking the clearance of your member item and subcontracting. Organizations receiving discretionary funds must be the primary deliverer of services rather than subcontracting other organizations. Once you have filled out all of the required documents, you will upload them to the payment checklist. In the payment checklist, you will only see upload buttons for the materials you are required to submit. For example, if you did not receive a member item, you will not see an option to upload the lobbying certification since it is not one of your requirements. After you have uploaded all of your required documents, click Submit Payment Checklist at the bottom right-hand corner of the payment checklist screen. Note again that for those that have awards of $100,000 or more, there are additional materials that you will need to submit that we have not yet gone over. Before submitting, you will also need to upload those materials to the payment checklist. Once you submit the payment checklist, your active contacts in the DCLA portal will receive confirmation of the submission via email. The status of the document in the payment checklist will also say Submitted. In addition to submitting the required funding documents, you may also need to submit a project request or full addendum. If you need to submit an addendum, you will be notified in your award letter and you will see the Start Addendum button on your award tile. We will go over both types of addenda in the next 2 slides. Further instructions for completing an addendum can be found within the addendum form itself. Note that many grantees will not need to submit an addendum. If you do not need to submit an addendum, you will not have a Start Addendum button on your CDF award tile. Project Request Addenda. If your award is larger than you originally requested, but does not exceed 75% of your total project cost, and no other changes are needed, then you will submit a Project Request Addendum, where you will update your request amount to be greater than or equal to your award amount. You should submit your Project Request Addendum in the same portal session that you submit your payment checklist, as we will not be able to process your initial payment until the addendum and the checklist items have been submitted and approved. Full addenda. If your total final award represents more than 75% of your proposed project costs and/or changes to your original project synopsis or description are required, then you will submit a full addendum. This will be indicated in your award letter as seen on this slide. As mentioned before, if a full addendum is required, you must complete the addendum and have it approved before you will be able to download your grant agreement. For this reason, you must submit the full addendum prior to submitting your payment checklist. You will be notified if any changes are needed. Notes on requested revisions will be found in the addendum itself. There are 3 additional requirements to be aware of. 1. Insurance. All grantees must have insurance that covers the full grant period, July 1 through June 30th, and provide proof of insurance if requested. However, only organizations receiving grants of $100,000 or more are required to submit insurance documentation to receive initial payment. If you do not see fields for uploading insurance documents in your payment checklist, then you are not required to submit insurance documents at this time. For those who need to submit insurance documents, we will review those requirements shortly. 2. Compliance with the New York State Charities Bureau. You must be current in your filing with the New York State Charities Bureau or have a certificate of exemption. And 3. Enroll in EFT. If your award is $25,000 or more, you are required to enroll in Electronic Funds Transfer, EFT, via the Payee Information Portal, PIP. We will now review compliance with the New York State Charities Bureau and enrollment in EFT in more detail. To confirm your status with the New York State Charities Bureau, visit their registry search, shown on this slide and linked in the funding requirements document. Email the Charities Bureau immediately at charities.bureau@ag.ny.gov if your organization's filing status is not current to determine what is needed to bring it up to date. Note that we will not be able to process your initial payment until we have confirmation that your filings with the Charities Bureau are current. If your nonprofit is exempt from filing with the Charities Bureau, email your certificate of exemption to your program officer. If you don't know who that person is, contact the help desk, CDF help desk at culture.nyc.gov, and your program officer will respond. Enrolling in EFT and changing your address or payment method are done through the city's Payee Information Portal, PIP. Their login page is seen here and is linked in the CDF funding requirements document. Again, enrollment in EFT is required for grantees receiving $25,000 or more, but we highly encourage all grantees to enroll in EFT to avoid fees for paper checks and receive payments more quickly following disbursement. If your address has changed, you will need to update it via PIP. Please also notify your program officer of a change in address. If you encounter issues with PIP, please reach out to PIP's help desk at pip@fisa-opa.nyc.gov. We at DCLA will not be able to help you with any technical issues that you encounter with PIP, since it is not our system. Please note that organizations with an open contract with another city agency may get an alert that they are not permitted to update their information via PIP. If that is the case for your organization, please contact your program officer. We have now reviewed all the requirements for grantees receiving total awards of under $100,000. So what happens after your materials are submitted? DCLA staff will review the documents that you uploaded and confirm that you're up to date with all funding requirements. After your materials are reviewed, you may receive a notification via email that one or more of the documents you uploaded requires revisions. If notified, log into the portal and click Payment Checklist to review the portal notes. You can see an example here on this slide. Please review the portal notes carefully since they will provide detailed instructions on the requested revisions, and a single portal note may include more than one requested change. Please make sure to carefully follow the instructions provided so that we can mark your grant materials package as complete on the next review and move forward with processing your initial payment. Multiple rounds of revisions slow down the process and slow down payments. Once compliance with all funding requirements has been confirmed and no additional changes to your grant materials package are needed, an initial payment will be requested from the city's finance department. Payments will be issued from the New York City Department of Finance either via check or electronic funds transfer, EFT. As a reminder, payments via check are only available to organizations with awards less than $25,000, and enrollment in EFT is recommended for everyone. If your total award is less than $100,000, you have reached the end of this tutorial. Thank you for watching and for your patience as we process your grant materials. We look forward to doing so as soon as possible. As a reminder, please read the CDF funding requirements document and keep it close by as you submit your materials. If you have any questions along the way, please don't hesitate to reach out to your program officer or the CDF help desk if you don't know who that person is, and your program officer will respond. Finally, as you can see on this slide, the deadline for your grant materials submission is ASAP and no later than Monday, January 26, 2026. If you are a grantee receiving $100,000 or more, we will forge ahead. Please continue with this video for additional tips on submitting your insurance and other required materials. Insurance tips and requirements for grantees with awards of $100,000 or more. Agreements with organizations receiving $100,000 or more must be reviewed and approved by our agency chief contracting officer before any payment can be issued. Please make sure your organization's legal name and address is consistent across all submitted insurance documents. Insurance coverage must be for the full grant period, that's July 1 through June 30th. This may mean that you need to submit 2 certificates for each type of insurance in order to cover the full grant period. We will go over this in more detail in a moment. And finally, we recommend you share the CDF funding requirements document with your insurance broker or agent and keep it on hand for detailed instructions and examples as you submit your required documents. All grantees receiving awards of $100,000 or more are required to submit the following: Commercial General Liability, CGL, Certificate of Insurance, Additional Insured Endorsement, Certification by Broker or Agent, Proof of Workers' Compensation Insurance, Proof of Disability and Paid Family Leave Insurance, Organization Certification, and 2 individual certifications. In the next slides, we will provide tips on filling out each form. The Accord 25 certificate is the most commonly submitted commercial general liability insurance form. We strongly encourage you to click on the Accord 25 certificate link in the CDF funding requirements document and view the sample certificate. As you can see on this slide and will find in the sample, the fields that you need to fill out have been filled out in blue as an example. To highlight a few areas that often require revision: the policy effective period. If your organization's policy period differs from the grant period, you will need to submit more than one certificate. For example, if your policy effective date is September 1, 2025, and the policy expiration date is September 1, 2026, you must submit the certificate for 9/1/25 through 9/1/26 and the certificate for 9/1/24 through 9/1/25, so that together they cover the full grant period of July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. If you are submitting 2 certificates, please combine them into a single PDF and upload them to the CGL field in the payment checklist. If your policy period is July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2026, That coincides with the grant period, and you only need to submit the one certificate. Finally, if insurance for the entire grant period has not yet been acquired, the certificates by your organization must cover at minimum July 1, 2025 through the date you submit your grant materials. Description of Operations field. On the Accord 25 certificate, the Description of Operations field must include the following verbatim sentence. The City of New York, including its officials and employees, is included as an additional insured. The certificate holder. The Department of Cultural Affairs must be identified as the certificate holder using this specific name and address. City of New York, Department of Cultural Affairs, 31 Chambers Street, 2nd floor, New York, New York, 10007. The NAIC number. The NAIC insurance code must be typed in for all insurers affording coverage. We have not gone over all required fields, so please refer to the CDF funding requirements document for a full explanation of how to complete the CGL form, including details on what is required for fields that were not discussed here today. Along with CGL coverage, an additional insured endorsement modifying the policy to include the city as an additional insured must be submitted. ISO forms CG 2026-04 or CG 2010-04 are commonly used. Both are shown on this slide. You can submit one or the other, you do not need to submit both. Links to both forms can be found in the CDF funding requirements document. Make sure the policy number matches your CGL policy number. If you are submitting two CGL certificates covering the full grant period with different policy numbers, DCLA requires an endorsement for each. If you are submitting two, one for each policy, please combine them into a single PDF to upload. Under Name of Additional Insured in the schedule, you must include the following language verbatim. The City of New York, including its officials and employees. Please do not include DCLA's address in the schedule. However, if and only if your insurance broker requires that an address be included, you must include C/O in front of DCLA's address. It should read the City of New York, C/O, 31 Chambers Street, 2nd floor, New York, New York, 10007. Finally, if you choose to use Form CG 2010-04, you must include the addresses of every location where activities occur. Therefore, we recommend using the form on the left, Form CG 2026-04. Please refer to the CDF funding requirements document for written instructions. You can find the certification by insurance broker or agent linked in the CDF funding requirements document. A copy is also provided at the end of your grant agreement. This form must be provided by your insurance broker or agent to confirm the information on your CGL certificate is accurate. Note that this form must be notarized and must be current. Previously submitted versions from prior fiscal years are not acceptable. Workers' compensation and disability and paid family leave benefits. If your organization has compensated employees, you are required to have adequate coverage for the entirety of the grant period, July 1 through June 30th. As with other insurance certificates, if your current coverage does not cover the whole grant period, you will need to submit more than one certificate. Workers' compensation. There are several forms that can be used as documentation. The C-105.2 is commonly used. A sample form is shown here for reference. If you are insured by the New York State Insurance Fund, NYSIF, you may obtain a U-26.3 form at the fund's website, www.nysif.com. Disability and paid family leave benefits. There are several forms that can be used as documentation. The DB-120.1 form is commonly used. On each certificate, under name and address of the entity requesting proof of coverage, please include DCLA's name and address exactly as it appears here. Finally, and this is very rare, if your organization has no employees as defined by New York state law and you are not required to carry workers' compensation and/or disability benefits coverage, you must submit a signed certificate of attestation of exemption, a CE-200. Organizations can use New York Business Express to file and obtain a certificate of attestation online. If this is your situation, please contact your program officer for further instructions on uploading the CE-200. Please refer to the CDF funding requirements document for more detailed instructions. Links to commonly used forms can also be found there with blue sample text for reference. In addition to the insurance requirements, you are also required to submit an organization certification and 2 individual certifications. Please make sure that the top of each is completely filled out and that you have used the form for the correct fiscal year. For the organization certification, under number 9, please include the names of your CEO or executive director and CFO or treasurer. If this is the same person, please list that person's name under each. If any of the 9 listed statements are not true, an explanation on a separate sheet must be included. For the 2 individual certifications, one for CEO Executive Director, one for CFO Treasurer, if your CEO and CFO are the same person, you only need to submit one form. As with the organization certification, if any of the statements are not true, an explanation on a separate sheet must be included. All forms should be signed and dated at the bottom. Once you have completed the organization and individual certifications, as well as any explanation, if necessary, please combine all pages into a single PDF to upload. Further instructions can be found in the CDF funding requirements document. All right, we are reaching the end of this tutorial. Again, once all your forms are completed, you will upload them to the corresponding fields in the payment checklist and submit the payment checklist. The same procedure for review and revision will take place as described earlier in this presentation. Because of the additional procedures required to process grants of this size, it may take longer to issue your initial payment. We appreciate your patience in this matter. But you can also help us to process your award more quickly by carefully following the instructions provided here today, as well as in the CDF funding requirements document, and by reaching out to your program officer with any questions before you submit to help ensure that your grant materials package is accurate and complete on the first pass. The deadline to submit your grant materials is ASAP and no later than Monday, January 26th, 2026. Thank you for watching this video, and we look forward to processing your grant materials package as soon as possible.